Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Let's continue with our fables. You might recognise this one because it is rather old but well known. The Town Mouse and the Country Mouse. A town mouse and a country mouse were acquaintances, and the country mouse one day invited his friend to come and see him at his home upon the fields. The town mouse came, and they sat down to a dinner of barleycorn and roots, the latter of which had a distinctly earthy flavour. The fare was not much to the taste of the guest, and presently he broke out with, "My poor dear friend, you live here. You live here and know better than the ants. Now, you should just see how I fare. My larder is a regular horn of plenty. You must come and stay with me. I promise you shall live on the fat of the land." So, when he returned to the town, he took the country mouse with him, and showed him into a larder containing flour and oatmeal and figs, honey and dates. The country mouse had never seen anything like it, and sat down to enjoy the luxuries his friend provided. But before long, they had well begun. The door of the larder opened, and someone came in. The two mice scampered off and hid themselves in a narrow and exceedingly uncomfortable hole. Presently, when all was quiet, they ventured out again, but someone else came in, and off they scuttled again. This was too much for the visitor. "Goodbye," said he. "I'm off. You live in the lap of luxury, I can see, but you are surrounded by danger, whereas at home I can enjoy my simple dinner of roots and corn in absolute peace." It's a nice little tale, and I'm sure some people do remember it. The Lion and the Bull. A lion saw a fine fat bull pasturing among a herd of cattle, and cast about for some means of getting him into his clutches. So he sent him word that he was sacrificing a sheep, and asked if he would do him the honour of dining with him. The bull accepted the invitation, but on arriving at the lion's den, he saw a great array of saucepans and spits, no sign of a sheep. So he turned on his heel and walked quietly away. The lion called after him in an injured tone to ask the reason, and the bull turned around and said, "I have reason enough. When I saw all your preparations, it struck me at once that the victim was to be a bull and not a sheep." The lesson in that is, the net is spread in vain in sight of the bird. Not really sure what that means without thinking about it at the moment, but yeah. The wolf, the fox, and the ape. A fox and a wolf were arguing. The wolf charged a fox with theft, which he then obviously denied, and the case was brought before an ape to be tried. When he had heard the evidence on both sides, the ape gave judgment as follows. "I do not think," he said, "that you, O wolf, ever lost what you claim. But all the same, I believe that you, fox, are guilty of the theft, in spite of all your denials." The lesson in that is, the dishonest get no credit, even if they act honestly. The eagle and the cocks. There were two cocks in the same farmyard, and they fought to decide who should be master. When the fight was over, the beaten one went and hid himself in a dark corner, while the victor flew up on the roof of the stables and crowed lustily. But an eagle spied him from high up in the sky, swooped down and carried him off. Forthwith the other cock came out of his corner and ruled the roost without a rival. The lesson in that is, pride comes before a fall. The escaped jackdaw. A man caught a jackdaw and tied a piece of string to one of its legs, and then gave it to his children for a pet. But the jackdaw didn't at all like having to live with people, so after a while, when he seemed to have become fairly tame and they didn't watch him so closely, he slipped away and flew back to his old haunts. Unfortunately, the string was still on his leg, and before long it got tangled in the branches of a tree, and the jackdaw couldn't get free. Try as he would, he couldn't do it. He saw it was all up with him, and cried in despair, "Alas! in gaining my freedom, I have lost my life." The next is called The Farmer and the Fox. A farmer was greatly annoyed by a fox, which came prowling about his yard at night and carried off his fowls. So he set a trap for him, and caught him, and in order to be revenged upon him, he tied a bunch of tow to his tail, and set fire to it, and let him go. As ill luck would have it, however, the fox made straight for the fields, where the corn was standing ripe and ready for cutting. It quickly caught fire, and was all burnt up, and the farmer lost all of his harvest. The lesson in that is, revenge is a two-edged sword. The fox was merely trying to feed his family, whereas what the farmer did was intentionally cruel, hence the quick karma in that one. Venus and the cat. A cat fell in love with a handsome young man, and begged the goddess Venus to change her into a woman. Venus was very gracious about it, and changed her at once into a beautiful maiden, whom the young man fell in love with at first sight, shortly afterwards married. One day, Venus thought she would like to see whether the cat had changed her habits as well as her form. So she let a mouse run loose in the room where they were. Forgetting everything, the young woman had no sooner seen the mouse than up she jumped and was after it like a shot, at which the goddess was so disgusted that she changed her back into a cat. It's an interesting story, isn't it? Dear me. The Crow and the Swan. A crow was filled with envy on seeing the beautiful white plumage of a swan, and thought it was due to the water in which the swan constantly bathed and swam. So he left the neighbourhood of the altars, where he got his living by picking up bits of meat offered in sacrifice, and went and lived among the pools and streams. But though he bathed and washed his feathers many times a day, it didn't make them any whiter, and at last died of hunger into the bargain. The lesson in that is, you may change your habits, but not your nature. Very true. The Stag with One Eye. A stag, blind of one eye, was grazing close to the seashore, and kept his sound eye turned towards the land, so he was able to perceive the approach of the hounds, while the blind eye turned towards the sea, never suspecting that any danger would threaten him from that. As it fell out, however, some sailors, casting along the shore, spied him and shot an arrow at him, by which he was mortally wounded. As he lay dying, he said to himself, "Wretch that I am! I bethought me of the dangers of the land, whence none assailed me, but I feared no peril from the sea, yet thence had come my ruin." And the lesson in that apparently is, misfortune often assails us from an unexpected quarter. Well, yes, I guess that's true, in one way or another. I'm going to leave that episode here, guys. Thank you so much for listening. Please hit that like, share if you can, and if you've not yet subscribed, do consider it. Many blessings.